Cus created a methodology to boxing, how to hit, not get hit, but do it in a manner that excites the crowd. Tyson epitomized it. He had speed, he had power, but he had the skill set that Cus taught. John, put it this way. Go to any boxing gym around the world. Trainers will sit ringside and they'll watch their fighters train. They'll like, get in there, do your thing, be first, double up that jab, work the body, let that right hand go. Come on, Leo, do your thing. Basic kind of, little coaching, right?
Right.
Cus would sit ringside, don't lay in the middle, move your head after your last punch. You're laying in the middle, you're not moving, move your head, you're not moving. Constantly, that's all he talked about. It wasn't hit the body or attack or double up on the jab. If you're not getting hit, you're not getting discouraged. If you're not discouraged, you're more confident and capable than somebody that might be less defensive and kind of take a punch, give a punch. So, and if you're competitive, if you have you're an athlete. So if you're competitive, you got that will to win, which you can't coach. But if you got that determination and you've got bad intentions, then yeah, you'll make a miss, but you'll also counter. You'll come back with snapping punches because you're now in a striking position without being vulnerable. And Cus taught you exactly with split-second timing where to move to next, and then where to move next, and then where to move next, so that you're really, truly not very susceptible while you're boxing. Now, it's a contact sport. You're not going to be 100% of the time. So, right. But if you are stung or you get hit, you get your bell rung, and you slip and move and you're still evasive, you can get out of trouble. And if you're competitive, you'll stay in the match and you'll come back and you can win.
So not everything's going to go the way it's planned 100% of the time, like you're talking, but as long as you know where to go after that stinger comes.
Basic fundamental principles, stick with. Rule number 1, don't lay in the middle. Simple as that, right? Rule number 2, don't pull straight back. Now you're in line, you're still in line for the attack. So you're going to slip, move, spring, step to the side, hit like military. Once upon a time, you look at the Revolutionary War, you see these guys march right up the middle of the field and shoot each other out, right?
Yeah, everybody line up right across the front.
And then the devils, the Americans that did this flanking and this ambushing and these different surprise attacks. It was like, that's so ungentlemanly. That's not the way gentlemen fight, right? But it's the art of war. And Cus studied and perfected, and how he trained Mike and I and the other stable of fighters, who were some phenomenal fighters, how he trained them is different than how he trained Patterson and my dad. So I'd go back home and my dad would watch me and see boxing. He was like, well, that's not what Cus used to tell me. Or, we'd compare notes, but Cus kept evolving and improving his style so that it really became, and again, if you looked at early Mike Tyson, he had an impenetrable defense. He was, split-second timing, speed, and power to execute, but there was very little vulnerability. I was ringside, let's say, 22 of Mike's first 25 or 28 fights. I could count on one hand how many punches ever landed solid on Mike in those 20-something fights that I was at. And I'd probably have 1 or 2 fingers left over. I kid you not. Now, you may get a glancing, grazing blow, but I'm talking about a solid connecting shot that Mike would have to shake off and fight back. Not too often. That was because he had studied and he worked to perfection.
Now you were, 5 times Golden Gloves amateur champion?
So I won 5 different state and Golden Glove titles, from California to New York and Massachusetts, 6 states in New England. I won different amateur title fights, but I never turned pro.
So did you had the same exact style?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, were you as evasive? I mean, as far as like...
Absolutely.
So they same thing. You wouldn't get hit. The way that you moved, the way you were taught really kept you... Is it on your toes? Is it... How do you... Are you letting them try to swing at you to wear them out, and you're just waiting for... No,
matter what they do, and in spite of what they do, I'm going to put myself in a striking position, and within split-second timing of me being in that position, taking a shot and moving in anticipation of the only single punch that could be consequential.
Oh.
So it was just a synchronized positioning. Just imagine, for instance, obviously we're not able to stand up and demonstrate, but let's say I slipped in to your right shoulder. So I've smothered that hand. You're now a one-handed punch fighter. And in fact, the only punch you could throw is a left hook. So as I slip over in that position, I bang a shot to your body, uppercut or hook. Now, do I count 1 1,000, 2 1,000? How well did my punch land? What's going to happen next? No. I've slipped. I've struck my opponent once or twice, maybe 3 times, but not too often, because you can't hang out there. You're fighting a game opponent that's going to try to hit you, right? Counterpunch and move, shift at positions. So I'm going to slip into position. I'm going to bang a shot or two, and I'm going to weave out of there. Whether you throw that left hook or not, I've negated anything possible that you could or would do to me. So now I've slipped over, or I've weaved over to another position without possibly getting injured in any capacity. Now I'm in another striking position, and within a split second of arriving in that position, I will have already landed 1 or 2 punches and moved to another position in split second timing. And you watch Tyson, if you YouTube Mike Tyson head movement, whereas everybody used to think, wow, Mike's so powerful, Mike's so strong, Mike's so incredible. Watch how he's slipping, striking, moving, weaving, and putting himself in a new position just spontaneously and rapidly. The moment he lands a punch, he's going to move to the next position. And that was Cus. So you had that. That's why Cus would sit there. Don't lay in the middle. Move your head. Move your head after your last punch. You're not moving. You're not moving. It was a broken record because he didn't want his fighters to get hurt. Now, the difference, I would ask Cus, come on, Cus, I'm ready to turn pro. He says, well, you're ready to turn pro when I say you're ready. I'm game, but Cus wanted to be very concise about when his fighters are ready. And while Mike didn't have a lot of amateur fights, and I probably had even more than he did, but while Mike didn't have a lot, he did have speed and power so that he could really capitalize on being in a striking position without being vulnerable. So let's say if Mike had 40 amateur fights, probably 35 of them, 30 plus of them ended in knockout. I had roughly 60 amateur fights and I had, I think, 28 knockouts. So our ratios, Mike had a little faster, heavier hand. I was a middleweight. I think he punched faster than I did. And he was certainly harder, of course. So Mike, now I fought with bad intentions and I knocked a lot of people out, but Mike had that extra element of snap and power that it's innate. You can't train it. I had the bad intention, but Mike had that power that could really capitalize on being in different striking positions. So that's why he accelerated through the heavyweights.